Hello, hello, hello. So excited everyone is here. Thank you for your time. Just got off a really great call with one of our pack members who's officially becoming full-time with us. So hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Woohoo! Very excited that everyone has a chance to be here. Heather, happy Friday indeed. Go ahead and feel free to write in the comments, hello, hello, Bay. If you're here and if you're participating live, we're very excited to have you. Hello, Sammy. If you are joining us on YouTube or on a place that we're going live, we are also very excited to have you joining. Small thing though, because you're watching live on another platform and didn't sign up to give us your wonderful email address. It means that I'm likely not going to see your comments because of the current technology that we're using. We do have Ben on our team, who is our YouTube channel manager. Hello, Ben, from Orlando. Hello, Gulam, and hello, Tanya. Yay! Oh, I love the pack that's here. So I just wanted to signal that if you end up watching it on YouTube, Ben will do his best to bring those comments into the webinar. But also, we'll just try to get you to sign up so you can join us live from the software so we can respond in real time. Okay, so getting into it today, I don't know, we need to start getting an episode count. I feel like this might be webinar number 7. Maybe webinar number 9. Heather, phone a friend. Let me know which webinar number this is. And then we can start working on like a series so we can keep track of it. We do have a series of different webinars. We're doing this every week, every Friday, at least for the next 2.5 months to continue. We started this in December, so we'll keep doing this every Friday. These are informal, but informative. Ideally. You'll notice that some of our team members, our pack members, as we call them, because a bunch of Mongoose is called a pack, get to join. And I use these webinars as a chance for us to teach what we're deploying and using in the field to members of the pack that maybe are not right behind it. You're behind on backup, but 9 sounds about right. Okay. Oh, then that means next week could be a double digit. Okay. Well, if next week is number 10, we'll have to do something extra exciting because that means we've hit double digits and woohoo. So again, these are meant to be informal but informative because I'm using this time to train members of our pack. Continued learning is something that's really integral to my core and something that we're trying to make a bigger part of what we do at Mongoose Media, hence having the team here. And what we're doing every Friday is we're rotating through a series of 4 different subjects where essentially we're doing today, which is creative diversification with the 5 horsemen. We have email triage, and then we talk about the CMO high-level KPIs and things that matter. So that CMO one I like the most selfishly because that changes quite a bit. Like we'll do a pipeline review one, we'll do KPI reporting. But as the leader of Mongoose Media, as someone who's a fractional CMO for many brands, an individual who consults and has overseen hundreds of millions of dollars of ad spend, I try to bring some of those bird eye views. No, mongoose on a rock eye view. Mongoose aren't very tall animals, so it's hard to say like a mongoose eye view because then you're like looking underneath. Anyways, we'll say mongoose on a mountain view of what works and what matters. So if you're jumping in for the first time or watching a live for the first time, awesome, welcome. We are working on getting these onto YouTube. But we're doing these every week. So jumping into it, we do have I believe there is, and that's going to be Heather, who's on our team, a tab somewhere, if you're watching from our webinar platform, we're using Webinar Jam, where you can see the upcoming schedule of the topics for our next few webinars. We are doing a special one in February 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to talk about what's working now. And I'm going to go deep on what's done well for us on LinkedIn, so I can share what we've developed over 1.5 years and give some insight to where we're going to continue going that direction as a company, what I've seen to work, and how this might be helpful for you, as well as tap in a little bit about LinkedIn ads. A lot of us know Mongoose Media for, and by saying us, you, and hopefully future listeners, know that a lot of people come to us for Facebook ads, but we do have a team of 8 growth media specialists. We don't really call anyone media buyers anymore because that's not what we do. And what we're talking about today with creative diversification explains a lot about that. So we do have 8 members on our team that are just growth specialists dedicated to specific channels, whether it's search, social, Meta specifically, LinkedIn specifically, all that type of stuff. And LinkedIn has a wonderful breadth of opportunity. And since we're going to be doing, hey, this is what's worked organically for LinkedIn, I'm also going to include a component where I'm going to do a live exam of showing you how we can build campaigns inside of LinkedIn for the paid. It's hyper focused on what's been working now from an organic perspective, sharing my profile, Lauren Petrullo, and what we've been growing, and then show a little bit into how we would leverage paid ads. And then, of course, as always, if that's something you want help with, hit us up. Okay, without further ado, as Heather's dropping it in, we've got next week's the CMO impact reporting. Then we've got on February 6th, the email revenue maximizer. On the 13th, right before Valentine's Day, we'll have the 5 horsemen of the ads apocalypse. And then we'll have another creative diversification, bonus one on the 22nd for what's working out LinkedIn edition. Okay, so creative diversification. For those that have been sitting under a rock, never listened to my podcast, Perpetual Traffic, or are brand new to advertising, Andromeda's updates, which start in 2024, plus GEM updates, are some of the most impactful demands on meta advertising than I've ever seen in my entire career. Now, I'd like to pretend that I'm 21 years old and that career hasn't been that long, but the reality is we've had Mongoose Media for almost 8 years. Woo! And this has been the biggest transformation I have seen ever. It's as exciting as it's daunting. And the reason why it's daunting for many is because of the creative diversification demands upon the platform in order for you to have success. Why I'm excited about it though, despite people being like, oh, I need to film, I need to make so many more creatives. Yeah, you do. But I'm also excited because it's kind of coming back to the basics. I'm sure a lot of us have heard what is old is new again. And with creative diversification demands of Andromeda, Meta's ad retrieval platform, that's never been more apparent. What's old is new. What I mean is foundationally, advertising how your grandparents did it, having a clear call to action, not having confusing messaging, clear, sexy offer for an obvious audience. Oh, this is number 10. Sorry, I just got, woohoo! Okay, wow. Guys, we did 10. Yes, Sammy. Woohoo, time to celebrate. Okay, wow. We've done 10 of these. I was reluctant to do one, and we're getting into momentum. So I appreciate everyone who's been there along the way. Okay. Woohoo. Jumping back to what is old is new. So what worked for a lot of people in the early 2000 tweens, like, so I don't know, like 2011, 2015, virtual high fives, when I was working on Meta, everything was hyper focused on the different campaigns levels. I'm actually going to share my screen where I've got a mini bit of a timeline so that we can walk through why creative diversification is the bee's knees right now. So grabbing this here, share my screen, la-di-da-di-da, performance marketing. So this is like an internal document that we have. Is it up here? Campaign types up here, structure build. Ha! So from 2015, so the teens to the 23s, everything within the Meta network was based on campaigns. This is at a time when people were building like 50 different campaigns in an account. You were testing different things. It was campaign, campaign, campaign. That was the hyper focus. And then in a post-pandemic-ish world, we started going into the audience. Something that happened really important between this switch was an iOS update, which meant that anyone who was using an Apple device, all of your tracking got eradicated. So Meta ads would not be able to optimize on Apple devices the way they could before. So folks that started launching ads early in the 2015s, I'm gonna say 2010s era, were sometimes able to just say, here's a red shirt without any foundationals. Remember, what's old is new? Well, what's old was having a clear campaign with a promise, with the website, with foundational items, like you were developing a brand. But for a long time, you actually didn't have to. You could get away with cheap marketing tricks. I have a red shirt, want it? And that's how easy it was. It's like as if you're going to a bar and you're like, hey, nice shirt, want to hook up? It was that dumb easy for a lot of people. And then the iOS updates kind of shifted the floor, taking the floor out from a lot of brands and requiring people to now develop funnels, now develop brands, now follow through with testimonials in a way that they weren't used to. So instead of going from the campaign, it shifted attention from campaigns to now audiences. Like, because in the campaign objective, you'd make a campaign that was for yoga enthusiasts that shopped at Abercrombie & Fitch and that were members of these 5 Facebook pages. Every year, the audiences that were allowed to target dwindle. But from 2023 to the first half of last year, 2025, ad sets, your audiences, were what was taking the cake for a lot of performance marketing. So you'd have lookalike audiences. You'd test lookalike audience 1%, lookalike audience 5%, lookalike audience 10%, lookalike audience with interest, excluding audiences. So much more attention was focused on the targeting. Before it was the creation of campaigns, then it became the targeting. And now, since the second half of last year and continuing through the 2026, everything is focused on the ad. And when we're saying focus on the ad, we are talking about creative diversification. Because when you're making a focus on your ads, it means your ads cannot all be the same. Back in the 20 teens, you could have one ad in 85 different campaigns. And then you weren't testing if the ad worked. Your ad was, I have a red shirt, want it? That didn't stand out other than there was no other competition. So the competitive advantage was being early to arrive on the scene using meta ads. When that no longer worked, you started going to audiences. You're like, okay, great. Well, I have this meta pixel. And this started before 2023, but like you'd be using the data available. You used to be able to buy audience from the Experion data logics, enhance them into your ad networks or to your ad platforms, and go after, I'm going to have an ad, but instead of having a bunch of campaigns, I'm going to consolidate and like see which audience resonates with my ad, right? So you might have like, I have a red shirt, want it. I have a pink sparkly shirt, want it. I have a rainbow shirt, want it. So I'd have the same 3 ads, still not necessarily as developed as required today, but then you're saying maybe these 3 shirts appeal to this lookalike audience. Maybe these 3 ads appeal to this audience. So the way I've got it listed here is like you'd have an ad set that's like, I'm advertising the flapper outfit. So remember that rainbow t-shirt? Maybe you have a rainbow t-shirt, a unicorn t-shirt, and then you made an audience that was all about unicorns and fantasies and mermaids. So you'd be selling that outfit. So here I'm using a flapper outfit for an ad set audience that's all about this. So someone who's shopping for a flapper outfit versus someone who's shopping for a pink pantsuit versus someone who's shopping for an Eid dinner attire versus someone who's shopping for a hot pink beachwear outfit or someone shopping for pajamas. Now, in the world of creative diversification demands, what's working well is unique ads that's going to a broad audience in a single campaign. So we went from many campaigns to fewer, to many audiences to fewer. So consolidated campaigns, which is a method where you have one main sales campaign or one main lead generation campaign with a couple of ad sets. You want a number, I'm saying maximum of 6, right? Like you can still test cold and warm audiences. You might be testing some cold audiences with value rules and exclusions. But for the most part, what we're really looking at is doing different ads, throwing them against each other, and then letting the ads curate your audience. You don't need to find your audience anymore. Your creative needs to do the heavy lifting. So when we go back to the demands of creative diversification, if you have creative that's vanilla, appeals to everyone, it means no one's actually interested. You want ads that appeal to unique products, unique benefits. You want ads that connect with unique people because each buyer has a unique 16-digit code behind their credit card. So we want ads to reflect that uniqueness. I'm not saying make a bajillion ads. What I'm recommending with our creative diversification is that for every ad set campaign that we launch, so assuming one campaign, one ad set, we are launching with at least 6 different ads. So we're giving the ads retrieval engine at least 6 different options. And I'm going to break that down a little bit here and showing the 2 different paths. So here we have one campaign, one ad set with 4 different ads. So if this is campaign 10, that's our naming convention because it's a sales campaign. Then we have an all Australia audience. That's including Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth. So one campaign, one ad set, our audience, with 4 different ads. So here's an ad that caters to all Australia against an ad that specifically caters to the Perth market, a specific ad for grandmothers with dingoes, and then a specific ad for Fijian moms living in Australia with biracial children, right? These are unique ads that are now competing against each other in a sense, but they're also tapping into new markets. Because when Andromeda's ad retrieval engine is looking at all of the options for which ads to serve to which individual person, they are looking for a wide range of options. If you have these ads being very similar, which I mean is, actually I can show. Nope. Here, this comes from Meta. If you have ads that look this similar to each other, Meta is going to actually penalize you because this is ad blurriness. This looks the same, feels the same. It's like if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. This is the it's a duck equivalent for Meta. What they're looking for is maybe you have a static here, and then this could be a video. Or instead of just showing shoes and gray pants, you now have an individual with his face, brown shoes, black socks, blue pants, hands involved. This is a completely different image than that one. And what we've called this rule of the 6 rules required for Andromeda success is the cuckoo crazy rule. So we have here is if it's not at least 25% different, then it's ad blurriness and ad blindness, right? Cuckoo crazy means the ads have to be at least 25% difference. That's not coming from us at Mongoose Media. Meta has said, I need to see at least a 25% visual difference in your ads, or they're all going to look the same. I'm just going to double check because something is wrong with the screen. What you're seeing is a purple background from the slide. So I'm going to turn the screen off and let's try again and see if that was able to help. I'm going to bring in Bay as well in case she wants to. I think she might be able to turn off her mic if it's not fixed. Welcome to It's Our 10th and we're still going to find technical fun things. Now it's working. I stopped sharing my screen, so that's funny. So there is going to be a delay, but let me get back to our screen, share the screen to show the cuckoo crazy. It might be a webinar jam bug. Let's check it on YouTube as well to see if it continues from there. So if I can get from those on webinar live, webinar jam, to let me know if you can see the cuckoo crazy. We're good now, Heather. Awesome. Thanks so much. Back to regularly scheduled programming. What I've got here is, again, that 25% difference. So if you couldn't see it before, these 2 ads look the same. These 2 ads have that 25% visual difference. Again, not a Mongoose Media number, a Meta number. And so we say if the first 2 ads below are basically the same, cuckoo crazy can be in from the design side or the format side or the angles. So I like sticking to design and starting with the number 4 for the placement. That's just internal notes. What I mean by this is when we are creating an image, there's 4 different stylings of ads that you can do inside the Meta ecosystem. Most people are familiar with just 2 and maybe use this 3rd one. But really, this static image is what people were doing for years because video required too much effort. Now with AI, people can make video ads a lot faster. So people are doing static and reels, but people are neglecting carousels. Why? Because carousels take a lot more time and consideration. You're telling a story. A carousel can be up to 20 different images. That is so much more than effort than having to do just one. So what I like about bringing up these 3 is carousel is an inventory with a lot of opportunity. And carousels, because it's continuing a story, you get the mini binge effect. You're telling a story in like a mini docu-series or like a consumption, like mini micro consumption moments to tell a bigger part of the story. Remember, whoever is seeing the ad is going to have a different way to interpret your information, like as a learner. There's 3 different types of learnings if you didn't know this. We would do this a lot at Disney, where we had to make sure every time we presented, we were accommodating to the different type of learners. Goal for us in 2026, if we can do these webinars. So the 3 types are kinesthetic. So these are people that need movement, right? So if you're doing a presentation, if anyone's got like a notebook, you're writing down notes. And so something that we could use in this webinar to incorporate that is like, hey, this is a note taker. And that might be something that you can use in your ads as well for someone who's a kinesthetic. But the other thing is if they're on mobile, maybe they're used to swiping. You're giving them activity. for the kinesthetic learner to engage with your content. You're giving them physical stuff, especially for smokers. They like to do things with their hands. And then you also have the audio learner and the visual learner. So the visual learner is looking at something. So especially when you have reels or you have statics or carousels, you're showing a story. You're showing better than telling. But the audio learner wants to read. When they're reading, they hear their voice in their head. So when you're able to incorporate those three things, you're able to accommodate your entire audience. You're reaching to them in a way that everyone, depending on what their learning style is, can consume your content in a good way. And so what's great about this is you can have the same angle or offer. Let's say, here's a red shirt, want it? We'll use that very boring example. You can have a static with a red shirt that looks amazing. It's like glowing in the background, and you could have some heavenly angelic choir noise in the background. You're like, ah, like you want this red shirt, and you're in a static. It's something that stands out from the feed. Then you can have a reel that's saying, hey, I have this red shirt, want it? And you can be like, it looks good on this outfit, this outfit, this outfit, this outfit, this outfit, this outfit. And with each snap, I'm changing outfits with keeping on the same red shirt. So it's like going from like morning to noon to evening, same red shirt, different looks, right? And that video allows you to show, hey, this is a red shirt, want it, in another way. Similarly with the carousel, you can say, here's a red shirt, want it? She wanted it, she wanted it, she wanted it. You're almost like Oprah, like you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. You can do a carousel that allows you to like, here's a red shirt, want it? See all the other people that wanted it. And then maybe you're showing, here's a review of someone like, I wore this red shirt at my bachelorette party. Oh my gosh, this red shirt looks so good at Christmas church service. Or, hey, this red shirt, amazing fit check for my Lunar New Year celebrations. And you can do in a carousel, just show testimonial after testimonial after testimonial. And maybe you're showing the people wearing their shirt, taking their photos, selfies. And the carousel is allowing you to continue the story so that you get more and more consumption. Now, that concept's more or less still the same. Here's a red shirt, want it? That's not a very exciting angle, but you can see how if you're having a red shirt with like lights around it, angelic choir singing noises, obviously I am not a singer, so it's not my voice. But let's say it's a great tune that's coming to it versus a video, which is a reel in the Meta platform of showing just outfit change, outfit change, outfit change, outfit change. And then a carousel of showing all the different testimonials. It's still along the same theme, but those surpass the 25% cuckoo crazy different, not just because they're visually different, but because they, more importantly, have different formats. Now, there's also here slideshow, which is something that like most people do not use. It again, it requires a lot more work and effort. So when I'm talking about effort, there's someone, his name is Reza. He owns Motion app. He's a founder. He came up with an effort score where in the world of marketing, especially with creative diversity, you need to have creative that's 25% different. But you also need to start building a moat. Remember, what's old is new again? You had to build a moat way back in the day. That's why Coca-Cola developed the polar bears, right? That's why Gucci launched a Lunar New Year collection in partnership with Disney. Foundationally, they knew like you had to create something that was unique and you had to create something that was different and it was telling a much bigger story. And with Andromeda, having these different stories and these different options allow you to connect with people based on where they are with your brand or where they are based with their problem aware, solution aware, the 4 different stages of marketing. So I love that if you're looking and starting, and if there was a number, the number is 6, which is when you launch a new campaign, we do want to see if we can get at least 6 different creatives. And you can start with a simple want a red shirt and then make a static, reel, or carousel. Sorry, I went a little bit off for the moat situation. So I want to go back to that. Like when you created the Gucci Lunar New Year concept where they did the Disney partnership, Gucci had created a moat. Many luxury brands tap into Lunar New Year. We're about to come into the year of the horse and conclude the year of the snake. So you're able to get people to rebuy for another reason. Hey, I want to have this year's Lunar New Year. I want my bag to have a horse. I want my watch to have a horse. I want my scarf to have a horse. But for Gucci to do that, they have to have design, they have to have delivery, they have to do fulfillment, and they have to have this relationship with Disney to use, like in the Year of the Pig, they had the 3 Little Pigs, and I think there was something with Tigger for the Year of the Tiger way back when. But what they were able to do was create this moat, which means that other luxury brands that wanted to get into it, they didn't have a history of doing a Lunar New Year collection year after year after year. They didn't have a relationship with connecting with Disney year after year after year. They had essentially created a moat that protected their buyers from being stolen by other luxury brands that quick. So with these 3 different types of ads, static, reel, or carousel, the effort investment is what allows you to have a moat. Why video reels worked, or why reels worked for years, was because no one was using them. Even now, to this day, reels is still an inventory issue where there's more demand for reel inventory than there is for static, because static is easy. You can hire someone to do something with Canva. You could do it yourself. AI can make you a static image in like 20 seconds or less. But a reel requires more work. You have to script, you have to film, you have to edit. Again, with AI, it makes things easier. But what you're trying to do is create a moat. Is the effort that it takes to create that piece of content easily replicatable? Then when we're in creative diversification demands and you say you're starting off with 6, you may not have ads that can perform. With everything, you have to test, because it always depends. But like what I will invite you to think of, like when we're doing creative diversification, when we're meeting the demands that Meta requires us to have to be successful with ads in 2026 and beyond, you have to start having an effort score. AI makes it easy for anyone to make a static or a reel, produce it, ship it. AI slop is there, and sometimes it works. But when you're looking at these others, so like reel, still an neglected inventory use case. I believe there's a quote from Instagram where it's like 70% of all Instagram time is spent on reels, and of which like 90% of the time people have sound on. So for so long you were designing videos assuming sound off, designing with surprise and delights if sound was on. Now with the reels category, you're actually needing to make sure that you're designing first and foremost with sound on, because most people are consuming reels not the way they used to, like in the bathroom, let me be quiet and be secret, but in their bed for hours. Like I was just recently on a tour and we were going through Comuna 13 in Medellin, and the 2 gentlemen that we had ridden back to our area with were like, okay, no, we're not going to join you guys for dinner. We're going to go head home, shower, and then spend an hour on TikTok. Like that was budgeted in their time before they were going to go out in Provenza. So that consumption, that behavior, you can leverage in your ads. And if you're able to build a moat, have more effort into something that someone else can't easily replicate with AI, then you're going to be able to have a greater chance of success with your ad performance. I want to take a moment because I want to acknowledge, like, yep, Sammy, you're absolutely, carousels are the best. You're saying that from an organic perspective because 1, people aren't doing it. And 2, from the organic perspective, Meta has already said, Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, has said, if you produce an carousel organically, if you post it, you're actually going to get a bonus time for the same creative. What they do is if you post it, we assume that at maximum 6% of your followers are ever going to see your organic content. It's a pay-to-play initiative. So if you're doing organic content, you have to know that people are following you. They're likely not seeing any of your content. Hence, there's a pay-to-play mechanism. But if you're posting carousels organically, Meta says, post this carousel. Once it gets passed by someone, you're going to post. So like, say this is the feed, here's the phone. Here's carousel 2, retry. Here's carousel 1. They just saw it, then they're going to go past it. They didn't go scrolling to one side. They saw it, and then they go past it. And then as they go past it, that next second version comes in. So now the second version takes the second screen of your carousel. So you get a second chance at getting your organic content seen by your audience. And it's like, oh, hey, I want to engage. Every click, every swipe that they do with that carousel is sending intent signals back to Meta that your content is interesting. So this moat, carousels take a lot more effort. Reels take a lot more effort than static images. You can argue that carousels and reels, it depends on which effort. That's up to your own personal skill set. But what I can tell you is that the inventory right now is overloaded with static images, undersupplied with reels, and practically missing for carousels. People aren't using carousels in their ads. And then don't even start on slideshow. slideshow, great for e-commerce, but it's still a stronger effort score in order to do that. But if you take the, hey, here's my red shirt, and you make a creative that fits all these 4, you're already more than halfway done with having the 6 creative diversification demands that I'm recommending for your first campaign. Okay, jumping back in, Gulam, you're saying that you're seeing a lot of ads for AI tools creating ad creatives at scale. Has anyone on the team tried any? Like Hollow.ai is running ads like crazy. Okay, that's fine. If they're investing into it, we can go into the Facebook ads profile and see what their ads are. When a lot of AI tools are saying you need to create ads at scale. In the past, we have tested a couple, and the way that they would change is like, hey, here's me with a pink microphone. Here's me with an orange microphone. Here's me with a white microphone. Here's me in my apartment. Here's me on the beach. Like, it's just changing small things. Or it's like, here's me with glasses on. Here's me with glasses off. Those minor tweaks is what we were using before. And despite looking in like massive ad accounts, I'm talking about ad accounts spending over $2 million a day who are doing these creative testing, I did not see a significant lift because the text went from yellow to blue. Those micro changes, sure, can have incremental value, but we always saw the most success and the highest incremental change when you were actually doing statistically, like 25% at least significantly different creatives. So you're not trying to make like, oh, I want to go from 0.001 to 0.002. That's still growth, but I want to go from 0.001 to 0.06. I want to see that major change. And a lot of that major change is not from the creative at scale that's testing brown shirt versus beige shirt versus red shirt versus blue shirt. Everything's the same, like what we saw in the creative diversification. As of right now, from everything I have seen, let me go back to this, that is not working. Changing from gray shoes to white shoes. Yes, the position is different. The chair is different. There's a green plant here, but still it's more or less the same image. So a lot of those AI tool softwares, I believe, are hijacking the conversation of you need to have more unique creatives. Here's a fast way to do it. Now, going back to what is old is new and building our moat. If you're going to build a moat, adding an AI tool that can do a lot of creative at scale can make you a little bit of a moat compared to someone who's only doing one creative. I'll give you that. But the reality is I can also deploy that same software. So your moat is going to be a little weak moat that maybe fits a rat. I want a moat that fits an alligator and a hippo. I don't want you to get to my castle. I don't want my competitors to steal my customers. So that's, Guam, at least that's what I can share from my experience. I have not seen an AI tool despite how many times we've tested it. And we've tested it a lot with big Amazon brands because that's where they were leaning towards. We want to see those micro changes because micro changes when you're doing $100 million a year does have a significant change. But again, I invite you to think, do you want to have micro changes to increase, or do you want to test more macro changes to see if it's going to resonate stronger? When you test more macro changes, you're actually able to penetrate new audiences. Remember we said the Fijian mom? Leaky moat. Yes, Heather. The Fijian mom, she is not seeing herself in a lot of ads. But if you create a different ad that specifically speaks to Fijian moms, like I used this example, I spoke at an event in San Diego last year, and this woman, Usha, came up to me and she's like, oh my gosh, Lauren, I'm a Fijian mom. And I used that example, and I will remember you, Usha, for always. And hopefully she'll also remember me for always. But she's like, I felt so seen. She's like, I never see myself or my opinion and my avatar in the ads. So when you're doing different stuff versus changing beige shirt to brown shirt, you're able to use your creative and Andromeda, leverage Andromeda to tap into untouched markets, which could have lower CPMs and better CPAs. If you want to expand into new markets and you're using meta ads, diversifying your creative helps with that a lot. It also allows you to create a moat because as I'm telling you the Fijian mom, you're like, yeah, you're right. Most of the ads I see are white people or maybe a Hispanic ethnically ambiguous person, but they're all super pretty and they're all probably like 30 years old because they're like, oh, hey, we know this works. But like, you know what also works is expanding into new markets your competitors are not doing. And some of the easiest way to do that is using creative diversification. Okay, I'm going to go back to the creative images, because when we have these 4 different types, let's focus on these 3 because these are the easiest. What you can do is you can create, here's a red shirt, want it? You make these, but I want to be really important about how the design needs to be done. So if you're doing a static, there's 2 ways at Mongoose Media in which we say that you can produce a single static. There's the lazy way and the optimized way. The lazy way can be like, I'm resource constrained. I'm using lazy because it's easier to describe. And again, you're not building a moat. This creating 3 different formats of the same creative is more building a moat than if you're doing one single creative in the safe zone. So let's talk about that single creative in the safe zone. You build, I got this here. You build a vertical 1080 by 1920, a vertical ad in your safe zone. So safe zone essentially means that, like, say this is a phone, I've taken the case off. This top part, you don't have any design on these top pixels. Why? Because if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you have the profile in your name. So anything that's up here, you're not gonna be able to read or see it. So that's where you need to make sure that whatever you want is in this middle square. Because you're like, wait, why is it this middle square? Because this is gonna be cut. So that middle square is going to be seen on an Instagram feed. That smaller one, so the 1080 by 1080 is here. The 1200 by 628, the side, is still taken from the middle. So when you're doing a safe zone, they like block out part of the top, they block out the bottom, and then they also block out like this square piece. I hope this is making sense. I should bring a phone next time. But they block out this piece because that's where the comments, the messages, and all of those pieces are. But if you're going to make one creative, and you're like, okay, I only have time or resources to do one, just make sure you're doing it in a 1080 by 1920 and you're telling a story inside the safe zone, because it's going to resize or cut pieces off, and you want to make sure your ad is appealing to those audio learners who want to read and still has a visual hook or standout for the visual learners. But the non-lazy way is, oh yes, getting a prop, Heather. We'll add that to the list. A non-lazy way of doing the statics is like, look at this. You have 3 different sizes. 1080 by 1080 is a square. That's for your feeds. What you want is an image that stops the scroll. Sometimes the best way to stand out is by fitting in. When you have an ad that looks like an ad, it looks like I'm going to skip it. Because I'm not on Instagram to look at ads. I'm on Instagram to show off me being Columbia, right? Like, I just want to see who's liked my stuff, or I want to consume pranks or stand up, or oh my gosh, am I the asshole content? That is my entire Instagram feed right now. I've subscribed to too many podcasts that are reading Reddit, wild, unhinged conversations. But when I'm consuming, what I want, like when I say what stands out by fitting in often is like, you have pictures or images that don't look like an ad. And most of the time when you're doing ads, you'll see a picture with a bunch of words on it. That's not an organic post. Right? An organic post, if I were posting them, is just a picture, right? For everyone that has Instagram, when's the last time you posted a picture with a lot of words on it that wasn't a promotion? You're taking a picture of your pink chai latte. You're taking a picture of your fancy pink mic and your amazing purple earrings. You're taking a picture and just posting that. So a lot of the time, stopping the scroll can be an amazing image. Like we have is we put money on fire in a pot. And while, yes, we had ads, like if you're spending at least 5,000 grand, if you're spending at least 5K a month in ads and you're not doing this one thing, you're probably setting your money on fire. I don't need in a feed scroll to have the image tell my story. In a feed scroll, you have supporting primary text and headline. What you want the image to do is stop the scroll. When we are on when we are on ads with Meta, our goal for an ad is not necessarily to sell. We want our ads to sell, but we need our ads to buy attention and earn trust. Those are the 2 principles behind every single ad: to buy attention and earn the consumer's trust. And when you've earned their trust, you've been able to take the awareness into an action where they're going to go to a landing page, where they're going to convert that trust into a conversion or sale, right? The ad, I have to get your attention in order for it to work. And once I've got your attention, I need to make sure I am buying and earning your trust, which is telling the story. So again, if we're looking at just this 1080 by 1080 stop the scroll, The supporting copy, I'm like, oh, wow, this image caught my eye. Let me see more. I'm intrigued. Then you're going to read the copy and understand the story that supports by this image, which is going to give you the trust of why this product or service is a good fit for you. So that's why when we're designing this image, like, hey, here's a red shirt, want it? Remember that glowing? You might just have the shirt and like a glowing image behind it with no words, no concept. And you're like, hey, that looks cool. And supporting text. But then when we get to the 1080 by 1920, that vertical one, we have a very different situation. When we're in the feed, the static image can stop the scroll and the story is told by the supporting text. And you can do like 20,000 characters. So, I mean, I read a lot. And some of the books I read are smut. And some of those books are about werewolves. And I can't tell you how many times I found myself on Facebook reading full chapters for like 10, 20 minutes at a time because of all the characters you can do, because I'm just like, I'm enthralled. So I have converted from those because of the extra storytelling. But if you were to do that same thing on a story, use just an image where that long storytelling is not possible on the story feed, you are going to lose that consumer. So what you need to do is you need to change your image creatives versus being a very strong image, probably zero text, to an image that has text, because you need to tell a story completely in a single image. There's no supporting copy. I mean, there technically is, but assume there's no supporting copy. So then you're like, I have a red shirt, want it? You might be like, the only red shirt Ashton Kutcher swears by. So that tells a much bigger story than if you were able to do all the supporting ones. So you have to design between the square and the vertical image differently. So I'm sure now you can start to see that you're creating a moat when you're taking the effort. While it's two separate images, formats, it's still the same ad-ish. Taking a note, I see Bays. Designing only within the safe zone, no good. You can't say anything powerful in that tiny space. Just my opinion. That's fair. You can't say a lot in such a small space. Now, I will be mindful that like when you're designing in the telling a story 1080 by 1920, you do still need to adhere to the safe zone, but your safe zone is actually a little bit bigger, because when you're doing the safe zone and you're doing one size, they're cropping it. But when you're doing the safe zone and you're doing story, you just have to be mindful that people have Samsung, people have Huawei, people have Apple devices, people have screens that are like the size of your entire face. Some people have like screens that fold out or even bigger, or they have ones that fold up. Like, you just have to be mindful that the safe zones are intended for the various different devices and screen sizes. Any developers in the audience will be like, oh, I hear you, because the way websites condense, it becomes a hot mess. So anyways, I just want to point out, so hopefully everyone that's following on can understand there's a significant difference between what we're trying to design in the 1080 by 1080 versus the 1080 by 1920, with telling a story versus stopping the scroll. Still same concept, but a different approach that allows you to start building your moat. And yeah, absolutely, babe. When you're saying that I meant it for all formats, 100%. It's too hard. So while it seems like it's cheap, it's like you're dropping $1 to pick up a quarter. You're going to cause frustration, not just to your designers, but also to your audience, where you're like, you could have done this better and maybe increase your conversion rates. Then the last thing I want to do on this static is we have a 1200 by 628. So those are going to be your like audience network, your right size desktop. It's a different place. Those are usually done from remarketing. People can consider it like super cheap, unvaluable traffic, but it might be the reminder that they need. We're always looking for incremental behavior. Incrementality with your meta ads is, especially with creative diversification, one of the most powerful things that you can do. Yes, there's ad frequency for sure, but when you have variety of options in Andromeda's creative diversification needs, you could have frequency with different sides, which help people make different decisions. Because you don't buy a pink Rode mic just because it's pink. I mean, I like that it's pink, but there's other pink mics. There have been pink mics that you can get on Temu and other like Alibaba networks. But I specifically wanted the Rode mic because of the reviews. I wanted the Rode pink because it had the pink windscreen, and even the cord. Let me show you. Came with this cute traveling case, like even the cord, like there's many different decisions that went into this, right? So like the cords themselves that connect to it are pink. So there's many different angles and decisions, which went into me wanting to make like that extra $50 investment so that I could have a mic with personality, as well as it's not just the personality, because you can get pink, Bluetooth wireless microphones. But I also wanted the highest quality of a microphone. I wanted to have synchronicity so I can use it from everything. There's a lot of different angles that go into before I ultimately decided to buy a pink Rode mic. So with the 1200 by 628, what you set that up is you're actually using little image to tell a story, to stand out. You're just using a clear call to action. So whereas we had said like, oh, here's a red shirt where it's like, oh, the heavens. And then we might have that similar like, oh, design, but in the story, it says the only red shirt Ashton Kutcher ever wears. And then with the clear call to action, it might be like, get Ashton Kutcher's shirt here. And that's the majority of the ads. So if like we're looking at this is the screen, the visual importance is on the words. So it's a clear call to action. At that point, you're just telling someone what to do. So what I really like going back into this of like when you're doing creative diversification, you don't have to come up with, oh, here's a red shirt, want it, or coming up with another angle, which is like, this shirt can be worn 17 times without being washed. So let's say you're doing different angles. You're saying, here's a red shirt, want it, being super direct. Then you're saying, let me go back to it. I have a different sheet that's going to be better for this. Nope. Campaign types. Nope. Finding it. Here we go. So you might have one, like if we go back to, like we say, hey, we'll do 6 different reels, right? Let's say instead of doing 3 different formats for the, here's a red shirt, want it, we're going to do 6 different reels, right? If we're doing 6 different reels, you're going to film one that's a founder story. Here's why I developed this red shirt. Fact of the matter is that I look best in red. It makes my blues pop. And when I learned at Walt Disney World, painted all of their roads red because of Kodak's recommendation that the roads that are painted red will make the greens in the trees look greener and the blue in the sky look bluer. I decided I want to do a Disney shirt, I want to do a red shirt the Disney Kodak way. That's why I started. So, okay, now I filmed that one video. And then I do another video of my 6. Now I'm going to talk about features. Hey, look at this red shirt. It's made with 100% recycled polyester. It can be worn up to 100. It can be worn without any deterioration of size or stretching on the fabric and survive at least 100 washes before any change in how this material. Another feature, it actually covers the armpit so that you can avoid the highest area of someone getting a sunburn. Like I have like, look at that. That's too dark. But I get to protect that really dark spot because this is the part of skin that most women do not put sunscreen on. So here's another feature. Oh, also, for those with very short torsos and part of the itty bitty committee, you can have a shirt that has the right length so that it's not too long or too short, because those that have short torsos and flat chests often find themselves wearing shirts that look like dresses. So you're talking about these different features like, oh, and then there's a crew neck that sits very comfortably on your neck and collarbone line, so it's not too tight around the neck. That's a separate video where you're talking about all the different features. That's a lot of effort. Now, again, we're building our moat. So if you have that, amazing. I'm just saying that you don't need to build a moat that can fit the Titanic. It's not the Panama Canal for you to out the gate, right? What we're trying to do is build as much of a moat as our resources allow. So that's why I like using the different formats of taking a concept. Like we'll go back to the features. You can do the features where you can show this shirt and then you can have like the anatomy of the features in a horizontal 1080 by 1920 telling a story, like feature, like an appropriate size crew neck that doesn't feel like it's choking and has breathable room to show off your collarbones. Sleeves that cover the most sunburned area. A length, like it looks like the anatomy. Then you can do, so that could be your static, right? Then you could do a video that's like saying, here's a shirt, like look at this, see how this fits? Here's anyone that's like 5'9" and 10% upper body, 90% lower body. This is how it fits on this mannequin, this mannequin, this mannequin, and this mannequin. And then you can, so you do a video showing that. And then you can do a carousel of that same thing. Like the shirt with 20 features, we promise there are at least 20. Keep swiping to see if any of them fit your vibe. Then you have a carousel that does like feature 1. It's made of 100% recycled polyester fabric. Feature 2, guarantee 100 washes without a single stretch, fade, or anything of the material. Feature 3, so you can do a carousel. So it takes a lot less brain power and resources to do 3 formats of the same idea than, okay, we just did the founder story, now it features, okay, now let's do an about us. Here's the team that's behind the t-shirt. Look, we have the people that are harvesting the cotton. We have the people that are doing the sewing. We have the design team that's doing this. Like there's a lot that goes into it. I don't need a Panama Canal of a moat, but I do want to have a moat where we're not trying to just do what's cheap and easy, because what's old is new. And that means is like back in the day, you designed ads that were to stand out, draw attention, and earn trust. So that's what we're going to do with creative diversification. And I know like there's so many topics to cover on this. We've been doing, okay, so this is our 10th one. I believe this is probably like our 3rd creative diversification one. I think it's safe to say that each of these have been 25% different. And there's so much more to cover on this topic. But at least today, my goal is what you learned is that if you're doing creative diversification, my recommendation is when you launch a campaign, you have at least 6 different ads. 6 different by having 25% cuckoo crazy. And that can be done as using 6 different ads from 2 angles and 3 formats each. Or you can make 6 different angles. Like I showed if you're doing 6 different videos, about us, benefits, jobs to be done, us versus them, features. Like what I had showed on the screen is a list that's not exhaustive. Those are just some easy places to start. And when you're able to launch a campaign with at least 6 different creatives, you're doing formats, you can appeal better to the kinesthetic, audio, or visual learner. If you're doing 6 different videos, you're able to probably have different angles that will tap into larger pockets of markets, different niches that you can expand into. But when you have and you start off with at least 6, it's giving Meta the chance to see, hey, who's the real winner here? This isn't a race where we're trying to be on the podium. We're trying to win the most number of medals. So you don't want to put all your eggs into one single athlete's basket. If you're assuming like, hey, you're going to the Olympics and you're like, yay, I only want Michael Phelps to win. No, you want to be Team USA. You want to take home as many gold, silver, or bronze medals as you can. And the more athletes you have participating in the Olympics, the more likelihood you're going to have a chance of getting those to participate. I'm using the Olympics as the example because handball is a sport that we don't have a team in the United States. So I've been watching a lot of Instagram posts about people that were athletes that are auditioning to be on the Olympic handball team because the United States is hosting the Olympics. And so we get to have an automatic bid in like every sport. So they're just like building teams. We want to build Olympic level accounts. We want you to have a roster of champions. And the best way to do a roster of champions in 2026 is to leverage creative diversity and to have options that either allow you to tap into new markets or tap into different learners. So I appreciate everyone for jumping on. It's been almost an hour. I haven't seen any other questions that I haven't gotten into the space. So for those that tuned in live, awesome. Love you. Thank you. And for those that are watching on YouTube or any replays, thanks again for your time and energy. I hope you got some value out of this. Tune into the next career diversification where we'll definitely probably go down another rabbit hole. And I am very grateful for you all. Heather, you're bummed to have missed out on the chance to play handball in the Olympics. You know, you probably would have been a rock star. You were a national softball star. So who knows? It could have been great. And so, okay, have a wonderful Friday, everyone, and see you on the next one. Oh, now we have to wait. It takes like, I don't know, 15